Parmjit Sarai, you're nominated for Original Song for Dr. Cabby. Can you tell me a little bit about how the song came about?
Yes, the song came about with the film producer, the executive producer, the actual producer of the film, Vinay Vermani is himself, and a couple other friends, etc. We got together, composed the song, made it. It went through a couple of different revisions. We got my friend Parmjit Sarai involved as well, and he sang the song, and then he brought in one of his rappers. And then on the song, and then after multiple revisions, etc., working together as a team, we came out with a final product which just suited the product. Suited.
I know whenever there's work for film, there's often a lot of back and forth. Was there a lot of back and forth with this song?
Yes and no. The concept of the song was actually originally conceptualized by the producer. We need a song of this subject matter or whatever. So collectively we sat together and we made the song. And initially, we sort of, okay, this is our bare bones of the song. Then beyond that, that never changed. It was just more the sonics of it and how was it going to fit into the film and the energy of the music. And we revised this and revised that to the point where the song was completed. And then they decided they needed a rapper on it, So all of a sudden, then you're back in the studio revising it and doing whatever, and then that's where Mange took over. He lended his voice to the song, and he lent, an artist which is signed to him, Raftar, and we put him on the song, and there you go. Out came a final product. And
sounds nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a nice, fun, collaborative effort, and it was a team effort more than anything. So. We're not alone in this. So,
no.
Yeah.
Well, film is always so collaborative. It's such a collaborative art form. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing people who want to get their music in films these days? What do you think is the biggest hurdle or difficulty that they face?
With film, it's very different because with film, we're trying to capture emotion. And you may have a phenomenal song which you love. It strikes an emotional chord with you. But you got to remember that the people who we're catering for, the director has a vision, the producer has a vision. First, they need to see eye to eye, and then they'll come to you and they'll say, "Oh, we need this." That's what that's once you're in. Even though I know your question was regarding how do you get your music heard. Just an experience with a film. I had a couple of songs in the film. The director actually needed something for a scene. Literally, I got a call. Okay, we need this, and it needs to be this long, etc. This is the scene. So I'm trying to envision what his creation was, and we banged it out literally in a day. Gave it to the next day, and it made the film as well. So it's sort of tough. But in terms of getting your songs heard by the right people to get heard, people shouldn't be shy to approach people. I think if you don't go, you will never know. If you, my PR manager says to me all the time, like, if you don't go to an event, you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what kind of door that's going to open. It's like if you don't put yourself out there, you don't know what you can receive, right? So I think a lot of people are super talented, have phenomenal talent, developing their craft and honing their craft, ready for the world. But unless somebody isn't there to just say, "Oh, by the way, let me hear your stuff," that's all it takes sometimes. And if it's good enough and it strikes a chord with them, they're going to open their eyes and they're going to talk. And when someone else talks on your behalf, it means a lot more. It's worth a lot more than you running around trying to toot your own horn. So,
It's almost like the biggest currency in terms of a community is recommendations or personal recommendation.
Yes, exactly. Because we ourselves, we're all creative people as we are, and you may be creating something yourself. I may be creating something myself. Because we're attached to it, we can't be objective about it anymore. It's always someone else who's going to say, you could spend all day on something, and then afterwards someone will be like, "Oh, that's horrible." Well, is it really? Like, I'd rather someone tell me it's horrible and say I can rectify the situation now, because in the end, I find when it comes to music, the general public is music illiterate. So we sort of have to spoon feed them, or we have to give them something that they sort of expect, even though we may be as creative as we want, and that's why I think sometimes people who are very accomplished musicians, or, have a lot of music theory behind them, etc. I find that sometimes they hear something that's dumbed down or something too simple, and they go, "Why is that such a big hit?" Because it can appeal to the masses. So it's tough because you want to be creative, and at the same time you want to make everybody happy, make somebody love it, and if somebody loves it, that's how you're going to build your creative license. They're going to tell other people, "Oh, by the way, did you hear that? That's pretty cool." Really? Oh, and the word will spread. That's how a hit song, travels. That's why they say, I think, over the last 50 years, most of the hit songs have been created around 4 or 5 different chords, and they haven't really changed. just the variation of how they've been played have changed. So, saying that, I mean, it should be pretty easy, but it isn't really that easy.
How important a role does SOCAN play in terms of getting you paid and getting you taken care of?
They actually take care of you quite well. I was talking earlier with one of your co-workers, one of your colleagues, and back in the day, I had some success with a song, which if I had not called SOCAN, because I wasn't published, the artist was published, I wasn't published myself, so I had like a liaison, let's say, so sort of say at SOCAN looking out for me. I told him the name of the song, we filled out some forms, and he goes, "Oh, let me look out for you." And long and behold, there were lots of revenue that came through. Because normally what artists don't understand, being a member of SOCAN, is if you're represented by a publisher, that's their job. They're going to liaison with you guys to make sure stuff is followed up on, they know where to look to see that royalties should be collected from airplay. As artists, we don't know that sometimes. So it doesn't hurt for us to phone in and maybe find one person we can deal with regularly to follow up. By the way, I did this song, and what are my steps, and what are my processes, so to ensure that I will be receiving the right royalties due to me. And if you don't make that call, you're not going to know. And I learned that from my past experience, that you have to do that and build a relationship with somebody at SOCAN. And if you're not, I mean, you'll be twiddling your thumbs wondering, is my song being played? Is it not being played? Fine, they don't track everything. But if you have somebody looking out for you, you can ensure that they're going to track all the avenues possible to see, and maybe next thing you know, you get some checks coming in and everyone's laughing.